Okay, welcome back, everyone. We are now going to have a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion in a second. If there is no discussion, Madam Clerk, if you would call for the vote, please.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, we are now out of executive session. No type of voting took place back there during executive session. All we did was conduct 4 interviews of individuals who are applying for various boards, committees, and commissions within Richland County. And we have now been joined by Councilwoman Gretchen Barron, who has finally made it through the bad weather and traffic to join us. The next order of business, we're at 5A, appointments. And we're supposed to appoint 2 individuals to the Employee Grievance Committee. One, they must be Richland County employees. 1 seat is a primary and 1 is an alternate. And we have 3 applicants in front of us under 5A, 1, 2, and 3. Are there any recommendations in the form of a motion as to who to appoint? Let's just do them one at a time. I'd say let's do the primary first.
Make a motion to appoint 5A3 Kimberly Tony as the primary.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'll just discuss that I had her for the alternate. Could we go into the discussion, and did you have somebody in mind for the primary?
Did I have somebody in mind for the primary? Yes, the person that I made a motion for.
I'm sorry, the alternate. The alternate.
Yeah, so for the alternate, I had 5A1.
Okay, well, that's just the opposite of what I had. I mean, I'm not going to debate it. Let's just go ahead. And the motion is to appoint 5A3 Kimberly Tony from the Transportation Department as the primary representative on the Employee Grievance Committee. If you will call for the vote, Madam Clerk.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, you want to make next motion for the alternate?
I'll go ahead. Make the motion for, I'd like to make a motion to select 5A1, John Robert Dunn, as the alternate for the Employee Grievance Committee.
Second.
A motion and a second to appoint John Robert Dunn from the Solicitor's Office as the alternate individual on the Employee Grievance Committee. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the vote, please.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay. Those are not going forward tonight, are they? I didn't see it on the council agenda, so it'll be the next time. Okay, we are now at number 6, items for discussion / action. 6A, renaming the Sewer Ad Hoc Committee to the Utilities Ad Hoc Committee, pages 34 and 35. I thought at the last meeting, this committee made a request to get some language as to what the responsibilities of the committee would be, but I didn't see that in our package here. So can we get an explanation of what's happened here? Mr. Wright, Attorney Wright?
I think that would be the utilities people, not my office.
So I guess I remember, and maybe help me if I'm wrong, but I remember asking the question, what is the current ordinance or description for the Sewer Ad Hoc Committee? So then we could update or amend that. And so I thought someone was going to go find that description to provide to us. And then, if it needed to be everywhere where it said sewer, we just change utilities, so be it. But if there was other edits we needed to make, we at least needed to see what existed, because I think we didn't feel as if we needed to recreate it from scratch, if that makes sense. So I don't know if that exists or not. I think someone's gonna find it.
That didn't get in the minutes, but I do recall. No,
Okay.
but I mean, I read the minutes and it wasn't there. None of this was there. But I'm just saying, I agree with you.
Yeah.
That we did want to know, well, what's it say now? And is it accurate or do we need to add something else?
To that
Fair.
point, it wasn't last meeting. It was the previous meeting because I think that it was not clear what our directives were, and we did not give a deadline or, a timeline when we wanted this information back. And so because of that, we did request this information to be brought back to this body on today.
So the recommendation was requested to the administration, and their response is on page 35. If you look on the screen, there is currently not a description in it. However, the staff recommending having just a single committee for water and sewer policy and planning to provide Richland County utilities clear path for presenting items to the council for council consideration. That was the language, all the language that came from administration to us.
I saw that on page 35 and it almost seemed like just they were telling us what we've been mentioning all along here. Recommending the single committee. But we need some type of, I'm not familiar with seeing this particular sewer ad hoc committee being described anywhere at this point in time. And every committee that we have, to my understanding, be it appointed by ordinance or the state, there's some type of description of what they're there for, what their purpose is. And that's where we just went through all of these. Well, those are boards, committees, and commissions that we appoint to, but nonetheless, we don't know at some point in the future if there won't be some committee appointed to service this group also. Ms. Carrillo?
Mr. Brown wishes to be recognized. He is connected via Zoom.
Okay. Administrator Brown, go ahead.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, just a quick question, and this is more for my own education, I guess. So when it comes to the establishment of committees, so is it the staff that describes and sets up what the committees are supposed to have and what they're supposed to be about?
Well, I guess my answer, if you want it for longevity purposes, is that the chair usually creates an ad hoc committee and states what that committee is supposed to be doing.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Barron?
So is that, but these committees are they created by ordinance?
No, not all ad hoc committees are.
Not all of them?
Mr. Livingston has just come in and I want to get him before he sits down and cools off. Mr. Livingston, ad hoc committees, when they're created, it's normally the chair makes the recommendation, the council votes to create that committee. Would that be correct?
I don't know what the ordinance not. We customarily done it that way, but I don't know what it is.
That's what I mean. I said, based on my longevity, that's how we've done it. And we're talking about the sewer ad hoc committee. But we then, following that, need to have some type of a description of what the committee should be doing, what they're required to do, what their responsibilities are. And that's one, I guess, that would the chair get in contact with the head of the particular department, in this case, director of utilities, and create some type of language for what that committee's responsibilities would be? What do you think? Okay, and go ahead, Ms. Marin.
So with the sewer ad hoc committee, this is, I think we may be opening up a can of worms here. Because when you think about some of the other ad hoc committees that we have, one that I chair, it's not, do we have language for all of them? So, if this is something that we anticipate doing for this committee? Are we just doing it for the sake of a name change, or are we doing this as a practice at this point? And that may not be something for this body to address, but it would appear.
And that's a very good point. And at this point, based on that comment, I would ask I'll hold my comment, Mr. Livingston.
Y'all currently talking about the water and sewer.
Right.
I just have a couple of general comments for that how committees, and let's keep in mind that their primary purpose is for us to do something temporarily to handle an immediate matter or problem, kind of like that's kind of the intent of ad hoc committees. And what I think we need to be cautious of as a council is I think we're beginning to develop too many, and I know this is just a name change here, but overall we're beginning to develop, I think, too many ad hoc committees. And what that does is it take away from more councilmen being engaged. For example, if you get too many committees and all the committees have 3 people, 4 people, and that's how things go into council, it gets more complicated when it gets to council. So I think we need to figure out a way to have less ad hoc committees as to more. And also too is we're taking away a whole lot from the ANF, our standing committees. With too many ad hoc committees, we have a standing committee, we got at least 5 people showing up. You're gonna get a whole lot more done, and you're better prepared when it goes to full council as opposed to ad hoc committees. So that's been kind of one of my pet peeves lately, was trying to figure out a way whereby we can reduce the number of ad hoc committees or let them die when they finish their mission.
Well, I agree with you on that because right now, I mean, there's committees out there that haven't met in years. You got your privatization ad hoc committee, you've got your privatization and consolidation or whatever. You got your ordinance ad hoc committee, and they're there in name, but they're not meeting at all. And if there's something to do with privatization, it sounds to me like that would also have to do with finances. So maybe that item should go to an ANF committee and not a separate smaller committee. Attorney Wright, you had a question or comment?
Yes, and that's kind of what I was about to say, is that the whole purpose of an ad hoc committee is to be a short-term or temporary committee to deal with a specific issue. So it's not supposed to be a permanent thing that lasts for indefinitely. So I think that's why there's not these big descriptions of them, because they're supposed to be temporary.
Okay, can we go back and find out who created this sewer ad hoc committee and what the purpose was at the time of creation? And if that purpose has been served, then we need to move on from there. And I think while we're going to be discussing council rules, that what Attorney Wright and Councilman Livingston just said is something we need to put in there, the purpose of an ad hoc committee, and do your job and get out, move on. And if we don't have that info now, I'd make a recommendation we get it for the next meeting.
Sorry, to clarify, what information are we requesting?
We're trying to get, we're requesting information regarding the sewer ad hoc committee, who created it as the chair, why it was created, and has the purpose that it was created been already accomplished? Or does it need to continue because that the purpose hasn't been accomplished?
And that's assigned to the clerk's office?
Yes.
Okay.
And well,
They should be able to find it through the minutes, I guess.
I will say this, that my office did do a little bit of research and there are a lot of committees that there is no information that we could find that exists, and not just ad hoc committees. So I'm thinking that may be a effort of futility to try to search for that, because it may not exist.
And it just really came about just because of the Lower Richmond water sewer.
And that's what I thought it was, Ms. Barron.
Completely out of that.
Yeah, so to that point, when we did, I think we've been talking about the description of all these committees, and we wanted some research to go with it. I think we got a question answered as far as how we can move forward with editing those blurps that we had concerns about.
Okay, now, do we need to make that in the form of a motion, do you think? And if that's the case, I guess you've maybe already written it, or else you can listen to the recording. But I will make a motion to direct our clerk's office to attempt to find somewhere in the minutes of council who was chair when the sewer ad hoc committee was created, what the purpose of the creation of that committee was, if it was for a specific purpose, has that purpose already been accomplished? And if not, then let's find out what the purpose is so we can move forward in trying to accomplish it. And I would also recommend that you, maybe even prior to looking in the minutes, contact Utilities Director Bill Davis and see if he can shed some light on this. It may have been before his time though. So that's my lengthy motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes. Is this committee meeting now under sewer? And then, so if there's utility stuff, are they bringing it to y'all now?
There have only been 2 or 3 committee meetings, and originally there were only 2 people on the committee. And then it was decided, well, rather than maybe have a stalemate in the committee, let's throw a 3rd one on there. So we could at least get a yes or no answer in moving it on to council. But there have been very few meetings.
But I guess hearing all the historical information and whatnot, now I am questioning like, okay, well, do we need it? Or is it just this stuff needs to go to A&F? I don't know. So I don't know if that's a staff thing of do they need, is there enough utility stuff or issue where we need to have a utilities ad hoc committee, or has this ad hoc committee essentially just run its
Resolved
course?
and put these items that they're coming up with to be it A&F or
Yeah.
DNS.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who can recommend it to the full council then? And while we're doing that, if I could add into my motion, let's check on some of these other ad hoc committees we've got. Okay. So we've got a second and a motion for y'all to get some work done on our behalf. Madam Clerk, if you would call for the vote, please.
Malinowski.
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
That will take care of number 6A. Now we've got just under 45 minutes left and we're going on to 6B. And this is the one to conduct a comprehensive review of council rules and recommend changes to streamline the rules to improve the functioning of council business. Now, as we can see on our agenda, this motion was made over 3 years ago, March 19th of 2019. Now, I don't want to say that the wheels of government turn slowly, but it seems like they've come to a standstill here. Now, there has been a lot of work that has been done and needed to be done in researching all these rules. And the committee over the years, to include those currently on this committee, has done a lot of work and made a lot of recommendations for additions, deletions, changes where they felt they may be needed. And I think what we need to do is take one final look at this, send it to council with the recommendations that everyone's come up with, because the odds are council's going to want to say, well, let's make this change and that change also. And I think that to get the ball moving, we need to get it to council rather than continue to keep it in here and try and nitpick it to make it perfect. We're doing the best we can. So, Ms. Mackey.
Yeah, so the only, I guess, comment I have about that is all of the coloring is confusing. So I guess if we send it on, I somehow want to figure out how to, because if they weren't in the committee, they don't understand all this. So I'm fine with sending it on. I just want to know if there's a way we can, I don't know, fix. There's like blue, green, red, highlighting yellow. Like, I don't know.
Okay, now,
Legend.
Yeah, legend of what all this means.
let me ask this. from the clerk's office here. It's my understanding that the different colors come about as the changes are made at the different meetings. Yeah, I mean, you maybe did red the first time, then other recommendations were made, so then you did green and then you did blue. So I think for the benefit of the council, we only need to show one color with any recommended additions, deletions, and changes.
Come on, pick one. Come on, pick
One,
one.
I don't care which color.
You come up with a new color,
Roy
use
G.
one of the current
Big.
ones.
Roy G. Big. That's the colors of the rainbow. Pick one.
I don't care what color. Make it so it stands out like
Red.
this yellow stuff. here.
Red. Red is usually the correction color.
Yeah, okay. So red is fine. The only change that we've been given since the other changes is on page 37 of the agenda. Oh, wait a minute, also 36. There's some yellow on 36. On 36, no action may be taken in executive session to A, adjourn, or B, return to public session. Okay, that's fine. I mean, I understand that. You got to come out of the secret room and take your vote out in public. And then on 37, it says about electronic participation. And my question is why this one portion was eliminated where it says any council member participation. No, that's not it. During any special call meeting not held in conjunction with regular scheduled public hearing plan meeting, any council member, that's my question, any council member may participate in the meeting via electronic participation. All right, that's just the meeting, right, Attorney Wright? It's not the executive session.
That's correct.
I will state for this one, I did have additional changes, but I am fine with sending it on to council and then giving my changes again.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
the one big change that let's hear what they are. Maybe we can just get it in there before we get it up there.
Well, so we had this whole thing about special called meeting, right? And my change,
Is that on the top of 37 where you at?
where am I at? Yeah, 37.
Okay, special meetings?
Yeah, so during any special call meeting. And so my change was about rules for electronic participation for any and all meetings. And so we never officially addressed that or created another section for it. We talked about it, but it never happened. And so I don't have a problem carrying it on and adding my changes again, but I do want to point out that was not fully addressed in a motion I made regarding electronic or virtual meeting attendance.
Has the clerk's office got that motion somewhere?
Yeah,
Because
back
it's
in our minutes.
because it is this is what addresses it, I thought, right here.
If I remember correctly, this was prior to Mr. Wright coming, but it was, there was some conversation about, because we're still in the pandemic, it's really no need because we can still communicate using Zoom because of doing the emergency ordinance. But today is a prime example for me where something out of my control, I was unable to participate fully in the meeting. And that does create a barrier when there is, there should be options there. And we had lengthy conversation about, how to eliminate or to avoid abuse of that, because ultimately we want people to come into the chambers. But we did have this discussion and it was not addressed. I agree with you. It was not addressed in the minutes and nor in this document. And I sure would like to see it re-reflected.
That's something that need to happen probably before you try to get through the entire set of rules. Because it's going
Yeah, and rather than prolong the conversation, I won't add anything now. If we're sending it on forward, we'll do it at that point. Unless you want to keep it here and get some changes, then I'll talk.
And Ms. Barron, sorry. I think the issue is that I believe the ordinance actually discusses, if I'm not mistaken, executive session. So executive session is a little different than other things because it's not allowed at all for executive session. And that's why that was the issue today is they went into executive session. So that's why your participation had to be cut off.
So I guess my question would be, and it would probably be to the maker of the motion, and that is, Ms. Mackey, when you pen this, what are your thoughts to have full access to participation?
Yes, initially when I made the motion, it was not necessarily because one, the current language specifies a special called meeting. So one, it was to address the fact that the meeting didn't need to be special called. It could be any meeting, any committee meeting, or zoning public hearing, any of those that a council member could attend virtually and participate throughout the meeting. And so we had discussions about including that and editing the language to adjust, because there are many other municipalities throughout the US that have figured out ways to do this, and we have not. And we talked about that, yes, we do want everybody to be here in person. We are all committed to being here in person. However, if someone is sick and contagious, but still wants to represent their constituents and participate in a meeting, we should allow them to do so without them spreading their germs to the rest of us. And so that was the way behind it. We're in 2022 now. We really should figure out ways to use technology to effectively allow all council members to engage as much as possible.
So, so Mr. Wright, I guess in addressing this, you made mention of executive session per the ordinance. So are you speaking specifically to our standing ordinance as it relates to special call meetings and the standard ordinance? Or are you talking about the emergency, state of emergency ordinance?
No, I think regarding executive session, that's period. It's
Period.
not for
Okay.
just emergencies
Thank
or
you.
anything. And I think the purpose is that because they didn't want people to, because since executive session is supposed to be private, and if someone is, say, on the telephone or something like that, you can't tell if anybody else is there with them, pretty much, or if, and that's the secrecy part, or the
Group with him listening.
right, some people listening in. So that's the thing with executive session.
And so just a follow up, we met for almost a half of a year and went into executive session. So,
Right.
if we're gonna, and I fully support making this change, but if we're gonna make the change, I think that argument doesn't stick any longer, because we were in executive session straight from the comforts of our home.
Right.
But I
And-
will belabor my point. I'll move on.
I would just like to add to that, extenuating circumstances. You see that a lot in these rules and regulations throughout the whole country. Those were extenuating circumstances, and when they are over, you move back to what the rules say.
Right.
And that's why I would agree with Attorney Wright on this one. So, so what do we want to do? Send this forward with what's there, all in one color, to the council, ask them to please review all of this and give them a date, like by the June meeting, come forward with any changes or whatever, additions, deletions that they would like to see. And at that point, it's at the council level. So any changes being recommended, we'd all be voting on up there. No, I say we don't bring it back to this committee.
So I'll make a motion.
Okay, go ahead. Ms. Ray.
I'd like to make a motion that we take the existing rules with its edits and move it forward to full council for their review, taking in mind that we're using one color one color for our edits and to move it forward to full council, and I will pin a date. You said, you made mention of June. But I'd like to say that maybe I'll go with June the 21st, which will give full council roughly a month and a half.
Sounds like it might be
21st is, wait a minute,
like the fourth Tuesday.
yeah, June 24th, it's the third. That is,
Oh, you're just picking a date
yes,
to have them in by, and then
Yes,
the
correct.
clerks will work on it.
correct.
Oh, okay. So your motion is to take the existing rules that we've gone over with all the edits in one color and move it forward to council with a request to review those changes and provide any input to the clerk's office by June 21st, right?
Can I make a friendly
and-
amendment?
Sure.
Thank you. To move this forward with the additional language, additional proposed language for virtual meeting attendance.
We didn't vote on that as a committee.
Do we vote on the rest of this stuff in here?
I don't know, but if you're gonna do that, then I want to throw some things in too.
Just say, I
We
just asked
maybe,
for an
we
amendment.
maybe didn't vote on it, but we had discussion and we have it already in hard copy. Now,
Huh.
if you wanna start adding something, I got things that I want to add too.
Okay, well then let's keep it in committee. I can have, we can have my virtual meeting stuff for the next committee meeting.
So my question,
Yeah.
so my question would be, could not Ms. Mackey make her recommendation as a part of full council? So
Yes.
when full council comes, when it comes before full council.
Yeah, because that's what I was gonna do with anything I had. Just wait till it gets there and make. the
And then
recommendation.
add it then?
We'll make the recommendation. It's gonna be up to council anyway.
But I see where you're going, because I'm afraid that this will become the dueling rules where it'll end back up here. And I think that I hear you now. We probably need to have a confirmed document. This is it. Tell us what you think, kind of thing. Can you live with it? Can you not live with it? Because if we start adding, revisions and all that, how we got here, if I'm not mistaken, is based upon the motions and based upon, recommendation.
Well, and I hear you, and I definitely want to get out of committee, but I can stay
well said for ad hoc committees. If these committees haven't met, I'm not so sure that when I was reviewing this, that we had the last time that they did meet, or it just said not active at the bottom.
So I would like to say, or like to make a recommendation that we make a recommendation to full council, as to which one of these that we feel as though, like the first one, we definitely don't need an economic development commission because we have a full office at this point. The relevance of the youth commission, I just think that it's ever is palatable for council at this point.
And to add to that, you've got several other outside groups that are handling our youth also. Ms. Mackey?
So I guess I agree with what you're saying. I think my question would be, is there anything that requires us to have these ordinances in place? Is there, I can't hear you.
Yeah, so we did ask that.
Was there an answer that states, like, I know what you're saying about Economic Development Commission, but is there some requirement that states there's a reason why we have this ordinance? Was it set up because of something the Economic Development Office is doing and it was required that we create this ordinance? And that would be my only thing, because it's an ordinance, before we get rid of it, does that impact anything that we're legally supposed to have?
For the ones you just mentioned, I don't think so. The only one that I can say that there definitely is a statute dealing with it is the Planning Commission. But I think for the most part, this is whenever these ordinances were passed, what that current council thought was important to have in here, to actually put in the ordinance.
If I recall, we did have this discussion before, and I think that y'all did look for ordinances, and these were some that we don't have ordinance for.
And
No, we do have ordinance for.
we do what?
They're just inactive, but yeah, the ordinance
Yes.
exists, yes. And so I guess that was my question before we got rid of the ordinance, because and correct me if I'm wrong, but in my interpretation of the ordinance, to get rid of it, we would have to have 3 readings.
That's correct.
Yes, and so that's why I make sure before we went through that process that we didn't need any of these things before we said, even though they're not active, making sure that we didn't need to keep it in ordinance, even though it's not active.
I'm kind of looking at this, attorney, right, as the same as our ad hoc committees we have right now. Because when you read through it where it says creation, it kind of says there's hereby created the Richland County ABC Committee or Commission. And it's not like there was any ordinance, it was created. We don't know how it was created. It gave a set of requirements or rules that they should have followed, but I don't think it was ever documented in any ordinance form. And I would think like an ad hoc committee, if their purpose is over, mission is no longer needed, that the council can on a one vote say, yeah, let's get rid of these.
Right.
It
Well,
is an
some of
ordinance.
these are,
This is an
they are
ordinance.
in ordinance.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any statute that
Okay.
requires most of these, but
Well, I didn't see,
The
I
ordinance-
didn't
the
see
ordinance
these, I didn't
establishes.
see in the reading where it said it was created by ordinance such and such.
Section 2-232,
Wait a minute, where are you looking?
page 68 of 83. So when you go look at our ordinance online, these come up.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
We've
so-
put them all in that section previously.
Correct.
right.
It's okay,
So if we amend any of these, then it does require,
yeah,
Ordinance
Yeah.
change.
okay. All right, so let's entertain a motion on this.
I don't know that I have a motion, because I'm back to the point that Ms. Mackey just made. Are these committees, I mean, obviously, I guess I'm answering my question with my statement, if they're not meeting and they're not inactive, doesn't necessarily mean that they're not needed. They're just not doing their job. I'm not sure. Yeah, so I don't know that I have a motion at this point about this. I would just, yeah, no, I'm rambling. I'm just thinking out loud.
Why don't we do it differently? Instead of talking about which ones we want to get rid of, let's figure out which ones we need to keep. That would make more sense to me now.
So, and I'm glad Ms. Malinowski and Mr. Livingston, y'all are here because y'all have the historical knowledge. But I think we hit on it in the beginning, the Economic Development Commission, we feel like that's taken care of because there is Economic Development Office. And then the Richland County Transportation Study, I'm assuming that is already handled under a transportation committee.
That's what came about, the penny tax
Tax.
thing after that study.
So the study
that's
is pretty
being-
done.
Yeah,
That-
that's
that's
being handled.
That accomplished what it was supposed to
Okay.
accomplish, so that definitely should need to go. Should
Okay.
go.
Let's go down one by one. You skipped one then under economic development, the Richland County Youth Commission. We really don't do anything there. And I know the sheriff's department has something and so do other groups have items when it comes to youth. We give money to different groups every budget term for different types of youth. We had some, I'll say experimental one that went to a couple high schools here a year or two ago. Where they got quite a bit of money.
I mean, I think it, in theory, it sounds like a really good engaging idea. Don't know if it ever went anywhere, but it seems like a good idea on paper. I don't know if we feel like we don't need it anymore, but it sounds really cool.
As
Go back and
a
check, 'cause
person
it
that
did-
works with
It
youth,
was formed for a while, short while, if I remember correctly. So it'd be nice to check back and see whether there's any meeting notice of this or that or whatever.
and I just think as a person that works with children regularly, I think that, anytime we can engage them at this level, given our current climate, that's critically important. My question would be to keep this, who oversaw this group? Where
That
where
would
did this
be,
land?
you mean under like in membership, those 13 members?
Mhm. Yeah,
You
like
mean which
who-
department in the county?
Yeah. Because it would appear that maybe it was in the clerk's office because it says that, of its connection with the elected officials, but I don't know. I'm not trying to give you work at all.
Let me add something, then I ask Mr. Livingston to add. In my 16 years here, this has never come up. There's never been any meeting. This committee has never been around. How about you, Paul?
I don't know how it worked out, but I do remember one of the colleagues of mine was, our colleague at that time was working with the youth and I thought it was with the commission.
That's ancient history, correct?
Okay.
So just give you an idea of the amount of
I'm just
years.
trying to think of the colleague's name.
Don't call his name. Don't
Okay.
call
No, it
his
was a she.
Oh, yeah, I did
Oh,
that
no
once
names.
before, didn't I?
name.
Okay. All right. I'm good with that.
So,
All right, so that's where I should eliminate that one
Okay. I'm
Okay.
good
also.
with that.
And
I can live
I
with
guess, Mr. Chair, or Madam Chair, I think just, the ordinance that establishes these commissions and some committees. It looks like what they do is they establish them and it's up to council to appoint members to go on them. And if council doesn't do that, then they're not required to be active. But if council appoints members to be on them, they can be active. So, but what the ordinance does is gives council the authority to establish these commissions or these different commissions or committees. And if they put members on them, they will be active. And if they don't, they're here, but they're just not active.
I was just thinking it's a chance to get rid of several more pages of words that we probably don't need.
I agree.
And do
I
you
mean, if
keep,
it's-
for example, you keep the Transportation Study Commission in case 20 more years down the line we want to do it, we can
Well, you have
establish
to
it
constitute
then.
a new one anyway, because this speaks to the 39 members, and also maybe something totally different anyway.
A lot of this is very specific.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is very specific to that past ordinance.
yeah, and if it's recreated, all the specifics will probably be changed also then.
Right.
So after the transportation, the next one down is appointment of members of a county athletic commission. We've got the Richland County Recreation Commission. I would think that handles that.
Now, I don't remember that one.
Under,
It's Act number 48 of 1991.
you hear 91, Paul?
I started that year, so no, I wasn't participating. I don't remember that one.
That's over 30 years for that one. The next one is N, duties of local emergency planning committee. We've got, what do we call it down there with Mr. Byrd? And we've got our own emergency services division that I believe takes it there because it says local emergency planning committee. So that's Act of 1986. It says on page 72. And then O is the Disabilities and Special Needs Board. I don't see a date in there looking quickly, but I never heard of that one either.
But it sounds like that we agree.
Well,
I could,
I agree with all of them. I would like just Attorney Wright, if you could, to look at M for Act number 48 of 1991, just to confirm. But other than that, I'm good.
so I would be able, are you gonna be able to do that now, or will we have to wait for another meeting? So you'll be able to get us that as a part of our briefing document for the next meeting?
Yeah, I was looking
Well,
up
could-
what Act number 48 is, but I'm not sure.
Could we, when's our next meeting for here? It's gonna be what, the 17th? That's when the council meeting is also. So could we do this? Could we make a motion, and that motion, pending what Attorney Wright comes up with, either includes it and keeps it there if you feel that, or eliminates it?
Need to vote on that?
I kind of was hoping we could somehow get it in the motion, but what is it, Ms. Mackey, that we want to know about that one?
M,
Yeah,
Act
but-
number 48 of 1991. So it says that this was created pursuant to the provisions, Act number 48 of 1991. So I just want the attorney to research what that is and just make sure before we get rid of it that
Have to have it again.
correct.
Why
That's
don't we make a motion to get rid of all the rest of them then?
That's fine. Second.
And I would think that our motion to council could be something like, we recommend council to eliminate all the following boards, committees, and commissions due to the fact they no longer appear to be needed and are in some instances covered by other entities. And we'll keep that one off the list till we get an answer, and we can do that one separately. Is that okay?
Second.
Is in a second? Okay. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the vote, please.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
motion approved.
All right, that was D. The next one, we got 7 minutes. It just says E, boards, commissions, and committees attendance records. These were gone through and it was shown the I think most of them were required to provide to the council some type of attendance record on I thought was it a quarterly basis?
Yes, so we had requested that in a motion, that they do that. And then I think I sent previous communication to the clerk that they develop a form that's, that the committees would submit, because they all submitted to us information in different formats, and it was just very confusing. So we asked that the clerk's office develop a schedule so that they know exactly which day it's due, that they establish the time frame for each quarter. And then they also provide a uniform document for submittal of records.
Okay, because this is in our April 5th meeting that we got all that information, and you're right, it was just kind of helter-skelter, the way it was there, provided by the agencies, Madam Clerk.
Yeah, so, and I have follow up with an email to all of you. I contacted IT to make sure that we can have something online where the committees can log in and select and fill in the information. However, in order to move forward with this application process, what I would like to know is what is exactly that you would like to see on that form, other than the name of the committee, the name of the members, when they were, what the terms are, the reason of why they not attended the meeting, and then what else would you like to see on that form?
Well, some of them had the meetings that they had, and then they went out with an attendance present or not present. And if they weren't present, was there a reason? And some of them said excused, but I think if it's excused, we need to have a reason, because just calling in and saying, hey, look, something's come up, I can't make it tonight, and then they announce it at the meeting. Well, yeah, I guess you're excused, but was it a real legitimate excuse that you were gone for? You're going to watch your kid's ballet performance or something, I guess family matters do come into play. But,
So on the
maybe you yourself just wanted to go to the Fireflies game because it was $1 Bud Night or something. That shouldn't be an excused absence from a meeting.
So on the form, you would like to see an explanation of why they are
Reason
excused.
absent.
Reason of absence. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so that was Miss Mackey's motion. And I'll second it, or did you? And it was seconded by Miss Barron. And if you'll call for the vote now, please.
Malinowski.
Yes.
Barron.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Hey, now the items for discussion, 7A, boards, commissions, and committees advertisement schedule is on page 80. That was asked for, I believe. Any questions on that one?
It states, I guess, that our next report of vacancies is coming up on May 17th. So our
Correct.
next meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Great.
This, what does it, the yellow highlighted yellow refers to what?
Hold on, are you on page 81? You gotta wait till we get there.
Oh, okay, I thought that was related.
No, we're just on 80 now. It's a one-page item. Okay, go ahead.
So I know the last time we put out advertisement, we did not get a great response. Are we looking to do something different this time? And if so, what is it? Because I do think that, we're starting to fill these vacancies, but, if we are advertising for an extended period of time and only getting 3 applications, I think it might be something for us to revisit where we're going to get the applicants.
Is that a question?
It is a question.
okay.
Yes.
So yes, we have received previously that recommendation, and we send the information to PIO. They did advertise it as well again. So this time around, it will be on a weekly advertisement process. We will send it out also to community development so that they can send it out to their contact list and submit it to some of our surrounding chambers, commercial, Chamber of Commerce. I'm sorry, I went lost my words. Yeah, we'll send it out to them as well so that they can share with their members as well.
Okay for that one? That was for information. And the last item, 7B, applications currently on file, pages 81 to 83. Councilman Livingston had a question. What is the yellow? Would you please advise him? Madam Clerk.
Yes. The yellow ones are the ones that have applied for more than one board. So, or committee, yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Move to adjourn in the second. Call for the vote, please.
Malinowski,
Yes,
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion
we
approved.
are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, staff, members, everyone.